Hey everybody, so I just wanted to jump on here today and leave my review for the new Netflix documentary, Pamela, A Love Story. Now, since I was a little boy, I had always been fascinated with Pamela Anderson. It could be because maybe when I was 6, I thought she was gorgeous. I thought she was sexy. The exact same way a lot of the world looked at her at the time of, her career, at the very height of her career. And, there was a lot of scandal, a lot of buzz, a lot of attention, a lot of media, a lot of publicity all over Pamela Anderson from like the 90s to like the early 2000s and even so on and so forth. And there was just something about her that was very intriguing. I could not stop wondering, what was this woman's deal? Because at even a young age, I want to say I was very self-aware that there was more to someone's story than just what the media provided. I know that because she was such a sex symbol, everything was either about Baywatch or how large her boobs are, to something like that, to her relationship with Tommy Lee, the very infamous sex tape that would have ultimately leaked. There was all this mania, going mad around Pamela Anderson. And there's always an interesting story at the center of that. And I knew that we couldn't really know for sure because that's not what the media was telling us. We were only fed to believe what they thought of she and her past partner at that time. And so now that this documentary is out, I was very excited to see just what that story looked like from the opposite side now that she gets to tell it herself. We get a really good inside look at her upbringing in Canada. She goes into depth about what that experience was like, some really personal and traumatic moments that occurred when she was little, even before getting to Hollywood. And it was really nice just to be able to see what that looked like before Hollywood, during Hollywood, and post-Hollywood. She's at a point in her life now where she's, comfortable just bearing everything. No pun intended. But point being, she strips away, I keep going at this, I don't mean to, but she strips away just all of that Hollywood makeup, that look, and really just bears her soul for everyone to see. And come to think of it, as you watch this documentary, what's interesting too is that in all this archive footage with interviews and any sort of video that just kind of showed her doing any form of publicity, she was very candid. She was always upfront. She always stuck to her word. She always spoke her mind. She may have done it in a more peaceful kind of, keep the peace sort of way because she had a job to do. She had a product to sell, or what was it? But when somebody would ask her something, she wasn't shy about, being open about how she truly felt about it. Nowadays, she has no problem just having no filter and telling you like it is. But I really appreciated seeing all this archive footage and just how she really stood her own ground. She all knew, and she could be a part of the joke, even though personally it would be kind of hurtful to hear, because this sex tape, which is kind of like the biggest controversy in of her entire career, had to be one of the most devastating things she could have ever gone through. So for her to be able to kind of suck it up and just be present, no matter how many times that joke got made about that, shows a great deal of strength on her end. And I really commend her for it. I really, really just loved seeing every aspect of this woman's life. And I think Pamela Anderson, of course, is somebody that we've all just been, curious to know more about. There's more to her than just like Baywatch and everything else that I think the world perceived her as. She's not one-dimensional as, the audience may have felt, because that's what the media feeds us. We're looking at it from how they angle the story every time. So really getting a glimpse into what that life and that part of her life, was like for her, just, being kind of, the centerfold, the bombshell, the blonde, just image of everyone's idea of sex and rock and roll, was a really fascinating time, but also a really devastating one for her, a very dark time. And I love that she was able to kind of be just very upfront, tell the truth, share it from her point of view, not hold anything back, and really give us exactly what that moment in time looked like. So it's one of those documentaries that I think is very personal, very raw. Some documentaries I watch and they're good, but sometimes I always expected a little bit more. With this one, she's giving us as much as she can, and I think it's just right. I love seeing it kind of from, cradle to, present day Pamela, and just where her life is now. I really love seeing just the trajectory of her career. Despite most of the hardships that occurred during it, I really just loved seeing the honesty. And so that is the one thing about this documentary that if you haven't checked it out yet, I do hope you do. I recommend that you do. It's very good. There's a lot that you're going to learn. You're going to see a whole different side of Pamela Anderson, and you might start to see, if you hadn't already, just how much respect you have for this woman, for not just disclosing all of her own personal truths and being able to kind of, accept her faults, you know, just everything that she's gone through from then till now. It's been one wild ride of a career, and it was a really entertaining time at the same time. So while it's personal and hard to sit through at some moments, it's also a really wonderful piece. And I hope that this is a love letter, not just to herself, but to her family, her sons most notably, and to the always will be love of her life, Tommy Lee. If you've seen it, I'd love to know what you thought. It's one of those that I can't wait to just, keep recommending to people. I'm actually going to watch it again at some point because I found it that good. And there was just so much to learn from this, and so much that we can gain and also kind of just take in and understand about things and maybe look at things a little differently. So thank you to Pamela Anderson for being so honest. And if you haven't seen it, check it out now on Netflix, Pamela, A Love Story.